The following program, The Lightning Strike, is sponsored by Mohammed Fahim, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Fahim, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
Chicago, and good morning to the rest of the world. Good June 1st morning, and we got some pretty good things happening in June, including the No King's Day that is happening on June 14th. Remember, folks, ours is a democracy. It is not a kingdom. And Mr. Wannabe Dictator is planning to have a military parade in Washington on our tax dollars on June 14th. So Google No King's Day and come out to the protest that is near you. There's going to be one in Joliet, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of towns are going to be having this protest on June 14th. So keep that on your radar. It's going to be Saturday. With me in the studio today, Ken DeLuke.
Howdy, folks.
And joining us, the Read Bible, and we got our regular team. Maria Muzaffar will be joining us. Dr. Sheila White has landed a big one today. I'm very thrilled to announce that our Person of the Week this Sunday is the one and only Big Lou, Blues Music Award winner, Chicago Blues Hall of Fame inductee, award-winning voiceover artist, and host of Sirius XM's B.B. King's Bluesville. And here is Dr. Sheila White.
Thanks, team. Our Person of the Week this week is Big Lou. Big Lou was born on the west side of Chicago and is an award-winning blues artist, acclaimed voiceover talent, and actor known for his unmistakable baritone voice, heard nationwide as the voice of Sirius XM Bluesville. Welcome, Big Lou, to the Lightning Strike.
Thank you so very much. I'm humbled by those words.
I want to first get started to talk about how did you get interested in music? Because everybody has a story. So when did it begin for you as far as music is concerned?
Jesus' love is bubbling over in my heart. Well, I think about how he taught me, of course, at church.
Yeah.
My sister, God rest her soul, she was in the choir. And she would take me along when I was a little bitty boy, and like 4, even before that, 3, 4, 5, and we sang in the choir at New Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church on the west side, and that was my first vocal singing and performing in front of an audience. And the people who we lived on the second floor of this 6th flat, and then on the 3rd floor, this lady had a piano, and I would go up there and play her piano as much as I could so I've been in love with music and performance all of my life.
How would you describe your musical style? Because there's been so many people, we talked about past, present, and future. Things are changing. Mm-hmm. How would you describe your style?
Oh, good doctor. That's a hard one. Well, not really. Because growing up and going to the Chicago public schools, first of all, I grew up in the 60s. So you had all of that. Motown, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, back then, when we were in grade school, we regularly had trips to the Lyric Opera. We would go to different concerts. Our teachers would take us. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite teachers, she used to take us to go see Smokey Robinson and stuff when they came to the theater up on the south side, the Regal.
Wow.
So I had all of this, to make me what I am today.
There's a big event, big kickoff coming, a party fundraiser. Buddy, you're returning to the Buddy Guides Legends Club on June 4th, 2025. The doors are open at 9 p.m. It's going to be at Buddy Guy's Legend, which is 700
I'm sorry.
South Wabash.
They
Go ahead.
changed it. Doors open at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Woo. And the VIP is important. If you want to get tickets, go to www.gvaf.org. And it's a fundraising event to benefit the Blues Foundation and Chicago's Fernando Jones Blues Camp. So it's a worthy cause. It's a worthy cause. And like we said, Big Lou is going to be hosting it. The Blues Fest kickoff party fundraiser, returning to Buddy Guy's Legend. You want to be able to get your tickets. Expect live performances from top tier artists from all over the world in the blues industry. It's exclusive, one of a kind. Guitar. It's going to be
Ain't nothing like it nowhere.
Oh my gosh. All right. All right. So is there anything you'd like to say to up and coming blues artists before we go off air?
My young brothers and sisters, and even my older ones, remember, this is business. And it's a show as well. It's show business, but you can't have one without the other. You learn the music, but now you need to learn the business of the music. Because I have seen so many sisters and brothers get ripped off and go about things the wrong way. And then that time comes when they need all of that stuff that they put in, they have to find ways to get it. And go through legal things and that. But learn the craft, as you already have if you're trying to play, but also learn the craft of taking care of your business in the music business. I've seen so many people, go the route of trusting those because they don't know. And then, you spend decades trying to fix those errors.
That's a good nugget right there. That's a good nugget right there to grow on and to learn. And that came from the legend himself, Big Lou. Thank you, Big Lou, for being our special guest today. Back to you, team.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Big Lou. And thank you, Dr. White. Great interview. And the nugget that he shared at the end, learn the business of the music. Not the music of any business that you're in. Learn the business side of it, and that's so very interesting. And talking of business, we'll take a quick break and come back on the other side of the break with some more programming. You're tuned in to the Lightning Strike.
Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit RizInjuryLaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650 in Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with me in the studios today. Ken DeLuke, Read Bible, has joined us all the way on the phone from Nevada, and he'll be having a very interesting segment, and he's going to have a guest in his segment today, and that will be at around 9:23. But I wanted to focus today on Trump's war on higher education. And what the heck is driving that? If you want to join the conversation, feel free to call in 773-763-9278. But Donald Trump's approach to higher education since the return to office has often been described by critics and by everyone that have any sense as a war on higher education. Now, I don't want to get into any kind of innuendos over here that just because he couldn't get his son Barron Trump into Harvard, he's going against Harvard. Now, let's talk about what actually is happening over here. It is characterized now by aggressive funding cuts, increased federal control over academic policies, punitive actions targeting elite and research universities, and I'm going to talk about some of the key elements of this approach now and the consequences. So we're going to take a look at targeting elite and research universities. We're going to take a look at restricting international students and faculty, demanding academic and administrative changes, and undermining academic freedom and independence. Again, the number to join the conversation is 773-763-9278. You're tuned into the Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Fahim. So let's look at targeting the administrative, the elite and research institutions in our country now. So Trump's administration has singled out Ivy League and other prestigious institutions such as Harvard, Columbia, Cornell, and Northwestern for scrutiny and funding cuts, citing concerns over anti-Semitism, ideological bias, and a lack of compliance with federal priorities. Now, billions in research grants and federal contracts have been frozen or threatened, with some funding redirected to vocational schools or other institutions. I'd like you to go ahead and Google Harvard's graduation recently and listen to the president of Harvard and how he is fighting back against Trump. Now, restricting international students and faculty, folks, the administration has revoked hundreds of student visas. Marco Rubio just goes around slashing student visas and saying, no, we are going to target every darn person who's coming from China, for example. We're going to restrict Chinese students. Now, targeted non-citizen students and academics for deportation. This is going on, and he has threatened to bar universities from enrolling international students if they do not comply with new reporting requirements. I do know that a federal court has recently put a halt on Harvard not being allowed to recruit international students, so there's a court fight going on that. The State Department, though, has paused student visa interviews and implemented expanded social media and vetting for applicants. If we are not going to be bringing in the best and the brightest from around the world, China is stepping into the vacuum.
It's a brain drain. I mean, seriously, that is one of the things that makes this country great is you got people from all over the world that come in here, and they are adding to our economy. They're adding to our science, technology, everything that's really important to make us, a leader in the global environment. He's trying to destroy this. It's crazy.
It is crazy. So universities have been pressured now to overhaul their curricula, hiring, and disciplinary policies. Departments under academic receivership. Ban face coverings at protests, with exceptions. Yeah, ICE agents can cover their faces when they go drag people out of the house.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Why do ICE agents have to wear masks? I mean, if what you're doing is legal and it's above the law and it's part of what you're supposed to do, why would you have to hide your face? I mean, it's just at face value, that's just ridiculous.
It is, Ken. And so Harvard and others have faced demands for third-party audits of viewpoint diversity in quotes and changes to hiring and admissions, which institutions have sometimes rejected as government overreach. So if you want to join in the conversation, Reed, what do you say to this about having to, how do I put it, having to bend a knee to the government as an academic institution? What do you have to say on that?
Myself. There is no need for ICE agents to be stormtrooping onto campuses wearing masks and so forth. Federal law enforcement agents are supposed to be open. They're supposed to have their badges displayed so that you can identify who they are. This is nothing more than an intellectual reign of terror that's going on right now. This is just subterfuge for a radical right-wing counter-revolution attack on academic freedom. And this should be obvious from the fact that Trump welcomed that far right-wing political pundit, Nicholas Fuentes Mar-a-Lago, and he referred to neo-Nazis in Charlottesville as some very fine people themselves. But this is part of a plan to take over from classic liberal democracy in America. They don't want that. They want a hierarchy. That's what they want to establish.
I remember that, Reed. Thank you so much for reminding us. And Trump's actions have been widely condemned by academic leaders and associations, as attempts to suppress academic freedom and compliance with political ideology now. More than 150 university presidents, folks, have signed statements condemning this unprecedented government overreach and political interference in education. Now, let's look at some of the consequences and reactions to this. There's so much financial instability and research disruption, like Ken was just saying, that the abrupt freezing or withdrawal of federal funding has caused layoffs, halted major research projects, forced universities to accept fewer graduate students, undermining America's scientific and technological leadership, and Mr. Doge has slowly slunk away from his government position now. A couple of days back, he just went AWOL now. He says, I'm no longer part of the government.
Well, but I mean, okay, he can only actually serve in that temporary position for a certain amount of days. Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily that he wanted to leave. He had to leave. So who knows where he comes back on all this. But
no one knows, Ken, what information this guy has taken away with him, because they had gone and put their tentacles into every section.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, you're talking billions or millions and millions of, our citizens that now that database is open source for whoever wants to manipulate it. And that's kind of scary stuff, And then
we will take a quick phone call. Roosevelt, thank you so much for calling in. I know you want to talk on the budget, so let's do a little pivot and take you on. Good morning, Roosevelt. You're on the Lightning Strike.
Thank you for taking my call. First of all, have a nice day, nice weekend, guys. What I want to say is this. We're all going to be affected by the decisions that they're making now. Now, as far as the near future, it's going to be coming, meaning all the cuts to the weather, the people that do the weather, to the people that work in the medical field. It's going to catch up to us, all of us. It's going to affect us. I'll give you a perfect example. Has it been reported in the media? That's another thing. They're shutting the media down. Has it been reported that between 200 and 300 people are dying weekly from COVID? They're going to hold information. We're not going to know. And we look who we got in charge. Kennedy Jr. So we're all going to be hit. People that voted for Trump and people that didn't vote, because of the decisions the cuts specifically that they've done to the weather people. And so his ex-press secretary, he won't give her any funds for, what's her name, Governor Huckabee. So there you go. Everybody, Republicans, conservatives, red states, blue states, we're all going to be affected one way or another. And I'm sorry to say, it's going to cause people's lives, specifically in the medical field. And when this hurricane season starts, we're not going to know how many people have died. Just like Governor DeSantis, what he did in his state. That's all I got to say, guys.
Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for listening. We'll take a quick break and be back on the other side of the break with Read Bible.
Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit RizInjuryLaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650 in Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Back to the Lightning Strike, and I'd like to welcome our correspondent, Reed Bible, to the show. Good morning, Reed.
Again, good morning, Mohammed and team and our listening audience. I wanted to focus a little today on food insecurity in America and the impact of the Trump administration's funding cuts on food banks and other federally subsidized nutrition programs. You know, there are about 42 million Americans who need and depend upon federally subsidized nutrition programs like SNAP, like Meals on Wheels. We spend $94 billion per year on these programs for people who are indeed food insecure and they need help. And these people include children, seniors, and the disabled. According to the USDA, food prices have been increasing and have increased 24% since 2020. Prices began increasing dramatically in 2006 and especially in 2008 during the financial crisis. This triggered off a need for both low and middle income classes to seek help to afford food. So despite this marked increase, though, the demand for affordable and nutritious food, the USDA announced in March that it was canceling $1 billion in funding for food banks, and the Trump administration intends to cut another $267 billion from food assistance programs over the course of the next 10 years. These cuts will include 37% of the funding for Meals on Wheels, rendering 2.2 million and growing numbers of seniors who depend on this program into even more food insecurity. And it's going to cut local food for schools programs, local food purchase assistance programs, and the emergency food assistance program, which moves food from farms to food banks and pantries to communities that are in need. So I'd like to bring on this morning I'd like to introduce my good friend James Williams to discuss the impact of these Trump cuts upon food banks. Jim retired as the executive assistant director of the Jesse Brown Veterans Administration's hospital in 2010, and ever since he's been volunteering both his money and time about 2 to 3 days a week, working for charities such as Big Brother, homeless shelters, and various food banks and pantries like the Pilsner Food Pantry. So I'd like to welcome you, Jim, to the Lightning Strike.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Jim. Jim, if you would you please tell the listening audience about both the funding and the sources of food distribution at the food banks where you volunteer your time?
Sure. I volunteer twice a month at the Pilsen Food Bank. It's located on the west side of Chicago. And the food bank primarily gets its food and some funding from both the state and federal governments. What we are experiencing of late is that with the cutbacks, we're not getting a lot of the foods that we normally would, such as vegetables, perishable items, milk, meat. All of that has been cut back. And as a result, we're actually trying to get more volunteers. We can get some of these items replaced through local organizations, supermarkets, churches, schools holding food drives and things of that nature. But the big thing is that, since the Trump administration has taken over, we have dropped in our clientele. We used to service about 350 families per week. We're open 5 days a week, and that number has dwindled down to about 85 because of the fear of ICE agents.
That's what I was about to bring up, Jim. I heard that because of this fear of ICE, not as many people are coming, especially to the Pilsen Food Bank.
Absolutely. One of the things that we're doing to try to offset that is we're getting volunteers who can make deliveries. About half of the clients that we have are senior citizens, and most about 60% of the clientele are Latin Americans. We also serve the Asian community, as we're about 2 miles from Chinatown. And so we're trying to get volunteers who can help us to deliver some of these food items, because we know that people are out there suffering.
Let me ask you a quick question here. We've seen in the news lately that with the cutting with the DOGE initiative, where they're just cutting all these different programs and the people aren't there to do what they want to do. Like, for example, there's a ton of perishable items that, in essence are just going to waste, that aren't being distributed, that could be distributed. What percentage of, or how does that affect you and what you're trying to do? What percentage of that initiative has dug into your goals to present food to people?
Yeah, one of the issues that we have is that most of the food items we can't keep a long time. We don't have the storage, and right now we don't have the clientele, and so we're just kind of taking it week by week, trying to figure out the best way to approach it.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for your service. I mean, people don't realize that there are so many ways to serve. And Reed, thank you so much for introducing Jim to our audience and to our team.
Well, it was my pleasure, Mohammed. And Jim, thank you so much both for your generous voluntary community service and for being on the show this morning.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back on the other side of the break with Breaking the Echo Chamber with Maria Muzaffar.
Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit RizInjuryLaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650 in Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. And here is Maria Muzaffar with Breaking the Echo Chamber. Good morning, Maria. Okay, while we are waiting for Maria to connect over here, if you want to join the conversation, the number to call.
Good morning.
763-9.
Good morning.
Good morning, Maria.
There she is. Okay.
Good morning. Can you hear me clearly?
Now we can, yes.
Yes, a little bit.
Wonderful. Okay, one sec. Okay, here we go. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yep, we're good.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I'm going to do a deep dive. I'm going to deep dive on a topic that Mohammed touched upon because I think it's worthy of such an important discussion. So we're speaking about the halting of American academic integrity and American academic rigor and the competition globally of students around the world and how that translates into who you are in the world. So we have seen the battle between Trump and Harvard, and the question is, why is he going after Harvard so aggressively? Why is the administration taking this position? His position has been to break this echo chamber for people who support the strategies that he has employed against Harvard, is that Harvard resembles the elite. Harvard resembles in many people's representation of what woke means. And Harvard represents the idea that you have to be of an elite intellectual community to be able to be valuable. Now, that's the message that many people receive. It may not be the correct message at all, but that is how you get people to really believe in what you're doing when you're going after a university like Harvard. What Harvard is proving by fighting back, specifically when it comes to admission requirements, is that it's protecting the fact that academic institutions should decide how to lead their curriculums, and that competitive advantage and competitive academic rigor is something that universities should hold sacred. So it's fighting back, and it's a message to all the universities that they should fight as well. What we're going to see with all the other universities, whether they take the route that Harvard has, or, so as the phrase has been used, bend the knee to the administration, we'll see which university actually supports academic rigor, academic curiosity, and which supports making sure that their funding is intact, compromising their academic integrity. Now, what comes down to the actual question here is this. If you look at Stephen Miller's comments on Harvard, the statement is exactly what I was addressing before, is that he believes that universities like Harvard give a lot of priority and privilege to international students. In fact, they are the ones that bankroll the tuition for majority of the students in the university. So a lot of these international students are paying lots of money to attend Harvard. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing here left for the American students to be able to come in and compete at the same level when there's other people paying such high tuition. But I think there's a larger discussion here that we have to have, and we have to get brutally honest here. The global market and the international students don't just arrive readily and ready to be able to serve and compete in Harvard at the age of 18. They've been working on this since the age of 5. What are the cultural attributes, the academic setups, the institutions in different countries that have raised these kids to compete? Because no matter what you're paying in tuition, if your qualifications do not meet the standards at a university that Harvard requires, you won't be admitted. So the analysis, if you want to improve the American student advantage, the American academic rigor, and you have to be able to open the doors for all American students, then we have to look at the American curriculum, the American public system, the American private schools. In fact, American private schools where students go and they spend a lot of money, including the administration's children as well. They pay a lot of money since age 5. Those students are not competing at the same level as a student that's going to a public school in any state in America. And so what you really see is that hierarchy has already been created between American students, between private schools and public schools. And so that has to be recognized, and that has to be also addressed when we're speaking about American students. The issue is not international students being a threat. The issue is the international students are very prepared for academic rigor and for global competitiveness. And our focus and our attention has to be able to get our students there. Now, let's have another conversation and add this, and we'll do this for the next echo chamber as well next week. But let's talk about the role that sports plays in academics. Let's talk about the role that academic learning centers play in tuition, in tutoring, and who sits in those tutoring classes. If you go and drive by Mathnasium, if you drive by iLevel, if you drive by, and there's so many academic centers that help kids. See who's sitting in those rooms. See which families are sending their kids. A lot of them are from immigrant families. So that is something we have to understand. The cultural warfare of academic integrity and excellence comes down to what we are encouraging our kids to do. Sports is fantastic. Athletics is fantastic. How much money are we putting in to address the issues of universities putting so much money into athletics or public schools putting so much money into athletics, giving preference to athletes, and then not giving preference to students that are trying to compete at a high level. There's already a hierarchy there.
Yeah, you're so right. About almost 12 years back, I had started an initiative called International Students Recruiting Service. And we were trying to recruit students from the BRIC countries to come over to American institutions. And it was, when we did the research, it was so obvious that American colleges and American universities were getting that of students, and these foreign students were going to come in and pay full freight. So this thing is going to hurt America in the long run. And on that note, folks, we'll take a quick break and come back on the other side of the break with Ken DeLuke and Carl Moose, and there'll be a discussion on what the heck is the big, beautiful bull.
Yeah, I love that. The big, beautiful bull. And that's much better than the big, beautiful bill that they're touting right now. So, yeah, that's interesting. Injured in an accident? Ticketed for DUI or traffic violations? You need Riz Injury Law on your side. Attorney Riz Ali fights for you, specializing in auto accidents, medical malpractice, slip and falls, traffic tickets, DUI and DWI. Call 312-546-5109 now. That's 312-546-5109. One more time, 312-546-5109. Your story matters, and Riz Injury Law will fight to make sure you get justice. Visit RizInjuryLaw.com or stop by 35 East Wacker Drive, Suite 650 in Chicago, Illinois, 60601. That's Riz Injury Law. Justice, compensation, results. Call 312-546-5109.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Fahim.
Back to the Lightning Strike. Please visit our website, TLS for the Lightning Strike, TLSchicago.com to support the show. And if you would like to be a guest on the show, you can send us an email through the website. Here's Ken DeLuke.
Hey, folks. Okay, couple of things. I gave everybody a homework assignment last week. We are trying to take Trump, and with his tariffs, he loves tariffs. Tariffs are the prettiest word he's ever heard. And we're going to rebrand it. It's going to be T-Fist. So it's going to be Trump's federal sales tax. Okay?
Taco?
Yeah, it's going to be, oh yeah, there you go. That's another one coming up here too. But Trump's federal sales tax, because actually a tariff is just a sales tax on everybody in this country. So share that with the people that you know. Understand what it means. A tariff does not help anybody except for putting money in the coffers of the government, and it's taking it from you, the people who buy stuff, and it's going to make things more expensive. And in some cases, it's going to make things not available because companies are going to go out of business because they can't compete when they have to charge 150% more for something that wasn't that cost to begin with. Now, anyhow, I wanted to get into, as most of you know, I'm in the solar industry. Okay, I used to be very much in residential solar, and with me, Carl Moose is on the line with us. We're going to talk about the latest bill that just came out. It's passed the House, and if it does pass the Senate, which personally I don't think it will, but if it does, it's going to have a major impact on people who want to take advantage, especially on the residential side of solar. Commercial is not going to be affected till the year 2032, but on residential, it's going to have a major effect. So if you ever were considering putting solar on your home, you definitely want to take consideration of, doing that sooner than later. And here's the reason why.
I want to jump in here real quick. Ken got me into the solar thing by putting solar panels on my house almost 2 years back now. My bill from ComEd is like $19. And we ended up putting in about $70 back into the common during this month.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a no-brainer. There's no situation where you're not going to be better off if you have solar than you don't. Now, just so everybody knows, as of today, June 1st, ComEd's going to be charging 24% more money on your annual electric bill. And then every year moving forward, historically, it's going to be about, they charge on average about 7%. They already got the approval from the ICC to add another 9% on top of that. So this year, your bill is going to go up 24%. Next year, it's going to go up 16% minimum for the next 4 years. So if you ever thought about doing a solar thing, you want to take very serious consideration in doing it now. But the point being is that if this, the bill that just passed the House, if it goes through the Senate and it gets approved, what that does, it takes away those federal tax incentives. So the amount of money that it's going to cost you is going to go up significantly more than that. And Carl, I'd like for your take on this. Good morning, Carl.
No, hey, hello, everybody. How are you doing? Great conversation today. Yeah, it's really interesting, and I come at it from a different perspective. As you know, I have a degree in geology, so I've been studying the sun and the earth and the whole environmental thing for decades. And, from my perspective, I always tell people, why are we digging up 600 million year old plants and animals that derive their energy from the sun? The same sun, by the way, that's shining right now, 600 million years ago. We're digging them up. We're transporting them on trains to a coal plant or a hydrocarbon plant. We're producing heat to create steam, to turn a generator, to create electricity, to transport it and transmit it and distribute it down the line. When you can take control of your energy, I mean, really, that's what it's about. And, of course, I don't think this bill is going to go through either, like a lot of other folks. However, they're starting to squeeze the federal incentives. And what does that mean? That means that your payback period is just going to be longer. However, it doesn't mean that solar is not a good idea, because at the end of the day, you're either under the thumb of the utility companies, which basically can do whatever they want, or you take control of your energy production. And how do you do that? You produce your own energy. I mean, when Mohammed put solar on his house, he became a producer of energy as opposed to a consumer of energy. So that's how you take control of the situation. You produce your own energy. And how do you do that? The easiest way to do that is with solar, because the sun shines every day, all day. And that's why I'm in the business, because it just makes sense. And again, we don't know what's going to happen with the federal incentives. Something's going to happen. We don't know how much they're going to be squeezed, but regardless of that, the other federal or state utility incentives are out there, and it just makes common sense. Produce your own energy.
Well, here's the thing, Carl, because this president of ours, this wannabe king dictator, came into power by saying, drill, baby, drill. So obviously he sold his soul to the carbon producers and the fuel producers in some way, shape, or form. He has been sold, okay? So that's why he's coming in with all of this kind of crazy antics now.
Yeah. I just want to say, for people who don't know where to go, okay, again, I don't do retail or residential solar anymore. I'm mostly commercial. But for those of you who are interested, there's plenty of companies out there. Sunrun is the largest residential solar provider in the United States. So you can just do sunrun.com. Or a local, there's a company locally, MSI, Midwest Solutions. They do a lot of residential solar. So look it up. Make the effort, and I'm not saying go ahead and just do it. See what they can offer, and then compare how that affects you personally and your bottom line, because we're talking tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars through the whole life of the system that's going to be in your pocket. I had one couple that I sold not too long ago. This was a residential deal. They just had a baby girl. okay? And then we figured out the economics of this. By the time that baby girl was going to be 18 years old, they would have saved enough money to actually put her through college. Okay,
well,
this is important.
Ken, here's the important thing, though. I mean, but is college worth it? Okay.
Well, I mean, we just had that talk with Reed. I guess, you know.
Yeah. Reed, are you still on the line, Reed, or have we lost you?
I still am. I know, I'm still here.
Do you think college is worth it today, Reed? Because these four-year colleges.
Frankly, if I had children, I don't think it is. It's just too darn expensive, and that's by design.
Let me share a good story with you guys. I was invited to one of these executive MBA colleges where they have these executives coming in and sitting in and getting their executive MBAs. So I was invited to be a keynote speaker at one of the colleges one day. And I went in and I see this group of middle-aged people sitting. And I said, guys, how many of you are paying out of your own pocket? And I would say about 70% of the hands went up. And I said, you know what? You would be much better off taking that money and investing it into starting a business of your own. And they have not invited me back again to speak to the college alumni. So I wonder why, Reed. I mean, most of the degrees that are out there are killing people by degrees. Worthless education that is not practical in today's world, especially when there's so much knowledge and information and that is out there to be had just on the click of a mouse. And with AI coming in, you really don't need this fancy degrees anymore. Okay,
I'm gonna pipe in here. Okay, I did go to college. I got an economics degree.
Hey,
but I got to say one thing. The knowledge that I got in college was, I mean, classes were one thing, but mostly it was the interaction with people and understanding how you can deal with people from all over the world. Actually, that was the important education that I got. Well, so I think from that standpoint, I do find it to be very valuable.
I give you that, but in those days there was no social media, so you had no Facebook friends. Okay, so let's not extrapolate that. But here's the thing, folks: when you go to college, make sure that you're getting value for your education. There are so many colleges out there that are just there pumping money. I'll get you another example. I have worked a lot with returning veterans to get them into productive employment. And when these people come out and they're decommissioned, they get something called the GI Bill, which helps to pay for their education. Now, when I go to a job fair, remember this is a job fair, not an education fair, about 60% of the vendors over there are these educational institutions trying to bring these returning veterans into getting back into college and giving them their GI Bill money. And these kids, that's what I call them, for lack of a better word, because most of them went into the services right out of high school. They want to have the college experience, right? So they go and they come out with this worthless piece of paper, and I hate to see someone holding a sign on a roadside saying, veteran needs help, or homeless veteran. Those are the things that take me off, folks. Okay, we got about 5 minutes to finish out the show today. And if you want to join the conversation, the number to call in is 773-763-9278. We come every Sunday morning on WCPT, and you can listen to us worldwide on the heartlandsignal.com. Afterwards, we do post the audio of the show on our website, tlschicago.com. Our team is Ken DeLuke, Read Bible, Dr. Sheila White, Maria Muzaffar, and we do have some very interesting guests. Carl Moose. And we do have some very interesting guests coming in and joining us, especially for our Person of the Week segment. We have got some fabulous guests that have joined us.
Oh, and by the way, if there's someone that stands out in your universe that you really want us to feature for the Person of the Week, please reach out, shoot us an email, and we'll be more than happy to consider bringing them on air.
Absolutely. And remember, very important date coming up is June 14th, and we're going to be talking about it next week also. So June 14th, two things are happening. One, the newly installed Pope is going to be having a service at Soldier Field, okay? And the tickets are like $5 a person or so, and I would highly encourage you to go and attend that. There is also going to be protests, demonstrations for No King's Day. Trump is trying to get a military parade in his honor like Putin does, or Kim Jong-un, or whatever his name, the North Korean dictator does. So Kim wants to spend millions of our taxpayer dollars, folks, to have this parade on his birthday. And let's make sure that we come out, we protest in a very civil manner, no violence, but we do let him know that our country is not his kingdom, and it's not fiefdom. So that is something that I really wanted to focus on today. Ken, are you going to be doing something to go join anything? This is going to be Saturday. What I'd like to do is to go out to some of these protests, be a part of it, and get some feedback from the people.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think we should do some on-site recording and talk to people and see what their thoughts are, and then play it on Sunday.
Okay, and also let's not forget that we have some very interesting congressional races coming up. There's going to be three primaries now in the Chicagoland area where there are no incumbents. There's going to be open seats coming up in the 8th district and also in, I believe, 9th district where Jan Schakowsky is not running anymore.
Second, too, I believe.
And Robin, her name is not running.
Underwood?
No, Underwood is running.
No, okay, yeah.
And for the Senate now, Underwood has decided not to run, but we do have Raja Krishnamurthy, and I really want you to do a deep dive into Raja Krishnamurthy's background, see what this guy has done or not done. That he wants to be a United States Senator.
You know, he named post offices after some veterans. So, I mean, how can you get better than that?
Oh, I'm telling you, Ken, it does not get better than that. Okay. And I can hear Reed chuckling also. So we do have our Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, who's also been endorsed by our governor, Pritzker. And, a big salute to Governor Pritzker for standing up against Trump. He is really fighting back, folks. And you need to, and he has our back, and we need to have his back, okay? So let's make sure that we say hello to the governor if we see him.
Oh, yeah, that's important. If you happen to know his communications director or happen to know him personally, please call him and say, be on our show.
Okay. Ken has been trying to reach out to him. But jokes aside, folks, here's the thing. This is our country. Let's make sure that it remains our country. Our Constitution is the paramount document that we have to live by, and not someone who's coming in from South Africa and trying to tell us how to run our country, and then running out and saying, hey, my time is up in the government. I got to go handle my business.
Well, what about all those poor white guys from South Africa that are being discriminated against?
I'm telling you. And by the way, there's been a recall worldwide on all Tesla Cybertrucks.
Really?
Yep, they're bringing all those worthless pieces of junk back. On that note, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Let's see you again next week. On behalf of Ken DeLuke, Reed Bible, Carl Moose, Maria Muzaffar, and Dr. Sheila White, this is Mohammed Fahim.